In a dusty roadside diner, three brutal motorcyclists torment an old man, scattering his cherished belongings, including a photo of his late wife, as onlookers freeze in fear. Jason, a stoic stranger, steps out to confront the bikers, his calm presence promising a fierce clash that blends raw action, quiet kindness, and deep emotion, setting the stage for an unforgettable tale of justice. The neon glow of the diner's sign flickered against the dusk, casting a pink hue over the cracked asphalt of the parking lot. The place was a relic, a squat building with greasy windows and a jukebox that hadn't worked since the 90s. Inside, the air smelled of burnt coffee and fried onions, and the hum of tired conversation filled the space. Outside, an old man named Amos shuffled toward his rusted pickup truck, his arms laden with a small cardboard box of belongings, dog-eared books, a thermos, and a faded photo of a woman with kind eyes. His hands trembled, not from age but from the weight of a long day and a longer life. Amos didn't see the three motorcyclists until their engines roared, cutting through the evening's quiet like a blade. They rolled into the lot, their bikes gleaming under the diner's lights, all chrome and menace. The leader, a wiry man with a shaved head and a heavy chain draped over his shoulder, swung off his bike first. His name was Carver, though Amos would never learn it. The other two, younger and eager to prove themselves, followed, their leathers creaking as they dismounted. They moved like predators, circling Amos before he could reach his truck. "Hey, old-timer," Carver called, his voice a low growl laced with mockery. "What's in the box? Got anything worth our time?" Amos froze, clutching the box tighter. "Just my things," he said, his voice steady but soft. "Ain't worth much to anyone but me." Carver laughed, a sharp, ugly sound, and swung the chain lazily. "Let's see for ourselves." Before Amos could react, Carver yanked the box from his arms, sending it crashing to the ground. Books spilled, the thermos rolled, and the photo fluttered onto the asphalt, landing face up in a puddle of oil. Amos lunged forward, desperate to save it, but one of the younger bikers shoved him back. He stumbled, his knees hitting the ground hard, pain shooting through his joints. Inside the diner, the scene unfolded through the smudged windows. A waitress, mid-pour, froze with a coffee pot in hand. A trucker at the counter glanced up, then away, his jaw tight. A family in a corner booth stared, their forks hovering over plates of pie. No one moved. Fear hung thick in the air, a silent agreement to stay out of it. But one man didn't look away. He sat alone in a booth by the window, a half-eaten burger on his plate, his hands resting calmly on the table. Jason, though no one in the diner knew his name, was a man who carried his past in the lines of his face and the quiet intensity of his gaze. His leather jacket was worn but clean, his boots scuffed but sturdy. He'd been passing through, just another drifter in a nowhere town, but something about Amos's hunched figure and the biker's cruelty stirred a fire in him. Outside, Carver kicked the photo deeper into the puddle, grinding it under his boot. "Pathetic," he sneered, as Amos reached for it, his fingers trembling. The other bikers laughed, one of them spitting on the ground near Amos's hand. "Get up, old man, or we'll make you." Jason rose from his booth, his movements deliberate, like a panther uncoiling. The waitress noticed him first, her eyes widening as he pushed open the diner's door, the bell above it jingling faintly. The air outside was cool, but the tension was electric. The bikers didn't notice him at first, too caught up in their game. Jason stepped into the lot, his boots crunching on gravel, and stopped a few feet from the scene. "Pick it up," he said, his voice low but carrying an edge that cut through the bikers' laughter. Carver turned, sizing Jason up. "Who the hell are you?" he asked, twirling the chain in his hand. "This ain't your business." Jason's eyes flicked to Amos, still on his knees, then back to Carver. "I'm making it my business. Pick up the photo. Now." The younger bikers snickered, but Carver's smile faded. He stepped closer, the chain swinging faster. "You got a death wish, mate?" Jason didn't flinch. "Last chance," he said, his voice steady as stone. Carver swung the chain, aiming for Jason's head. The move was fast, but Jason was faster. He sidestepped, grabbing Carver's wrist mid-swing and twisting it sharply. The chain clattered to the ground as Carver grunted in pain, his arm bent at an unnatural angle. Before the other two could react, Jason drove his elbow into Carver's jaw, sending him sprawling into the dirt. The younger bikers charged. The first came at Jason with a wild punch, but Jason ducked, grabbing the man's arm and using his momentum to flip him over his shoulder. He hit the ground with a thud, groaning. The second biker pulled a knife, its blade glinting in the neon light. Jason caught his wrist, twisting until the knife fell, then delivered a precise kick to the man's knee, dropping him to the asphalt. It was over in seconds. Carver scrambled to his feet, clutching his jaw, his eyes wide with a mix of rage and fear. "You're dead, man," he spat, but his voice wavered. Jason stepped forward, his presence towering despite his average height. "Take your boys and your bikes, and get out of here. You come back, you won't walk away." Carver hesitated, then gestured to his crew. They limped to their bikes, engines roaring as they peeled out of the lot, their tail lights fading into the night. Jason turned to Amos, who was still on his knees, staring at the ruined photo. Jason knelt beside him, gently picking up the picture. It was smeared with oil, the woman's face barely visible. "I'm sorry," Jason said, his voice softer now. He helped Amos to his feet, steadying him as he gathered the scattered books and thermos. Amos's eyes were wet, but he managed a nod. "That was my Ellen," he said, his voice breaking. "Gone 10 years now. That's all I got left of her." Jason's jaw tightened, but he didn't speak. He understood loss too well, faces he'd never see again, promises he couldn't keep. He guided Amos to his truck, placing the box carefully in the passenger seat. "You got somewhere safe to go?" he asked. Amos nodded. "Home's not far. Just, thank you. Ain't nobody ever stood up for me like that." Jason glanced at the diner, where faces still pressed against the windows. "They should've," he said, more to himself than to Amos. He reached into his pocket, pulling out a small wad of cash, his last few dollars. "Get that photo restored. There's places that can do it. Keep her close." Amos stared at the money, then at Jason. "I can't take this." "You can," Jason said, pressing it into Amos's hand. "You will." As Amos drove off, his taillights fading like the bikers, Jason turned back to the diner. The waitress met him at the door, her hands shaking as she handed him a to-go bag with a fresh burger and coffee. "On the house," she said, her voice thick with gratitude. "You didn't have to do that." Jason took the bag, his expression unreadable. "Yeah, I did." He walked into the night, his boots echoing on the asphalt, a man who carried his own ghosts but still found room for kindness. Behind him, the diner buzzed with whispers, the story of the stranger already growing into legend. But Jason didn't care about legends. He cared about the old man who'd make it home tonight, clutching a smeared photo and a small spark of hope.